Problems in Python with difference between import module and from module import. I have had a problem with the difference between import module and from module import name1, name2, in Python. I am a newcomer, last week, to Python, using Python 3.6 on Windows 64. In the Python tutorial there is a short discussion of these two import approaches. It is stated that from module import is not recommended because of the danger of polluting the current namespace. However, there is no indication that there is any material operational difference between import module and from module import name1, name2, with the implication that this is a matter of preference or convenience. However, there seems to be a big difference in practice. Consider this module named moduli, defining a global variable and a function. Using import moduli creates a separate moduli namespace. Now the members of that module are available as public members of the namespace, like this. This is the output. Which is exactly as expected. Contrast this with moduli, which uses the form from moduli import fa, iglobala, and then refers to these members of moduli without qualification. In this case the output is In this case the global variable iglobala is imported as a copy from moduli after moduli is initialized, and becomes a completely separate variable from moduli.iglobala. It is also true that function fa is imported as a reference to the function and moduli is defined at the time of import. If the function is reassigned at some later point within moduli, then the reference to fa in the importing module remains unchanged, pointing only to the function as originally imported. I would have thought these differences between these import syntaxes should be more clearly stated in the documentation. It also means that someone designing a library module needs to specify how that module should be imported. Edit, after comment by Abdullah Ahmed Ghaznavi. These are my questions. Did I miss something in the documentation? Is this behavior the same across all platforms? Is this the intended behavior that can be relied upon in future?
In this case the global variable iglobala is imported as a copy from modulia. Nope. Just after from modulia import iglobala, both modulia.iglobala and moduli.iglobala points to the very same object. You can check this by printing id iglobala in both modules. Now while both names initially point to the same object, the names themselves are distinct. They live in different namespaces, one in modulia and the other in moduli. So when fa rebinds the name iglobala, which is really modulia.iglobala, only the name leading in modulia is impacted. So at this point both names point to different objects. On the other hand, when in moduli you use the qualified name modulia.iglobala, you only have one single name. So when this name is rebound in modulia, by fa you see the change in moduli, because you are really checking the same name. Note that if instead of rebinding a name you had tried the same thing with mutating a mutable object, e.g. appending to a list, updating a dict etc., you wouldn't have noticed any difference in behavior. What you need to understand here is mainly what Python variables really are, and also that Python has no real global namespace. Global really means module level. I would have thought these differences between these import syntaxes should be more clearly stated in the documentation. Possibly yes. Note that there actually some documentation about the whole thing, cf. this URL, and this URL, but you do indeed have to understand what defines a name in the local namespace and a reference to that value is stored in the local namespace really imply. It also means that someone designing a library module needs to specify how that module should be imported. The problem here is either that the lib is badly designed, and if it uses globals that way it is badly designed indeed, or, at least, that the name you tried to access is not, or should not be, part of the lib's API. Did I miss something in the documentation? Possibly too. I'm afraid I'm far too used to how this worked to remember how I first learned it. Is this behavior the same across all platforms? Is this the intended behavior that can be relied upon in future? Yes and yes. This is part of the language's specifications actually, and changing it would break almost all existing code.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.